Math 76, Lesson 4, missing numbers in multiplication and missing numbers in division. So, very similar to Lesson 3, but using our multiplication and division algorithms. Let's jump straight into the practice problems. And let's look at the first one. So, here we have A times the number 7 equals 91. So, in order for me to figure out what the number A is, I'm going to have to do the opposite action. And this is going to be true in multiplication and in both forms of the multiplication problem. So if the top or bottom number is missing, it's going to be the same thing in multiplication every time. So if A times 7 equals 91, then I know that 91 divided by 7 will equal A. So I'm going to set up a division problem. I'm going to take 91 as my dividend, and I'm going to set 7 as my divisor. 7 goes into 91, or both 7 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. Subtract, I have 2, bring down the 1, 7 goes into 21 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. I've got a remainder of 0, which is great, which means that A is equal to the number 13. And if I wanted to check my answer, all I'd have to do is multiply 7 times 13, and you would see that you would get the number 91. So multiplication, much like addition, is very simple. You're going to divide the product by the factor every single time. So here my product is 440, my factor is 20. So I set 440 as my dividend. The factor of 20 becomes my divisor. Now I have to ask myself, how many times will 20 go into the number 4? It can't. So now I move over to the next one, 44. How many times will 20 go into 44? It will go in 2 times. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract, bring down the 4, bring down the 0. 20 goes into 40 2 times again. That's going to multiply perfectly. I get a remainder of 0, which means the number B is equal to 22. Now let's go on to division. Now here the missing number is my dividend. I know that C divided by 7 equals the number 15, but I have no idea what C is. So if your dividend is missing, what you're going to do is you're going to do the opposite action of multiply. So if my dividend is missing, or the number inside of the house or the garage, whatever you want to call it, is missing, then I'm going to multiply my quotient and my divisor. So I take 15 times 7. That's an ugly 5. Okay. 7 times 5 gives me 35. I carry the 3. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10, 105. So my my dividend, C, is equal to 105. So that one's pretty simple. Now, what if we go down and we see that the divisor is missing? Well, if the divisor is missing and we have the quotient, we have the dividend, all we're going to do is switch this around. We're going to take the number 144, and instead of dividing by, why did I write 100? Okay. We're going to take the number 144, and instead of dividing by D, I'm going to divide by my quotient of 8. All right, so much like subtraction, division is very dependent on which number is missing. Okay, so if I take 144 and I divide by 8, I will then get my divisor. So 8 goes into 1 0 times, so I can't put anything there. 8 goes into 14 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 14 minus 8 is 6. We bring down the 4. Now 8 goes into 64 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. I get 0 left over, so that means the number D is equal to 18. All right, now some of you may be thinking, wow, that was really fast, we're done. Of course we're not. There's always so much more to learn in math, and what we're going to learn right now is the different ways to write multiplication and division if you've not already been exposed to that. So one way to write multiplication, and this is specifically only if letters aren't involved. So if we're using letters as placeholders for numbers, we can write multiplication, like let's take this 7 and A for example. Instead of writing A times 7 equals 91, what I could have written was 7A is equal to 91. And this is read as 7 times A is equal to 91. And I'll go ahead and do another example problem for you guys. Let's do this. We'll say 6 times W equals 84. Okay, since we already know the answer to this one, we'll go ahead and solve this one. So this is like 6 times W, or 6W equals 84. What we have here is a multiplication problem, which means we're going to take the product and divide it by the factor of 6. So I'm going to go ahead and take 84, divide it by 6. 6 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. We'll subtract the 2, bring down the 4. 6 goes into 24 4 times, which means my final okay. Which means my final answer is 14. So W is equal to 14. All right, so that's how we do that with a multiplication problem. And they could even write it backwards. They can even write, 84 is equal to 6 times W. In this case, my product is on the left. So you have to understand the definition of the terms. You can't just go based on the location of where that number you need normally is, because they can reverse it on you. So we need to understand what a product is, and we need to know how to find it. Now, division can also be written as fractions, which I believe I talked about this a couple lessons ago. Is we could take a division problem, and we could take the number 360, we could rate that divided by the number x is equal to 30. This could be a problem in itself. So in this case, the quotient is 30, the dividend is 360 because that's the number on top, the divisor is the denominator, or the number x. So if I have my quotient and I have, if I have my quotient and I have my dividend, and the only thing I'm missing is the divisor, then all I have to do is divide my dividend by my quotient. So I will take 360 and I will divide it by 30, and that will give me the missing number. So 30 will not go into 3, but 30 will go into 36 one time. Bring down the 0. 30 goes into 62 times. 2 gives me 60 again. So the answer is 12. So the answer x is equal to 12. Now, what if this division problem is written the other way around? What if I've got a number divided by 5 is equal to 60? Well, in this case, since my dividend is missing and I have my divisor and I have my quotient, then I'm just going to multiply my quotient by my divisor. So I'm going to take 60, multiply it by 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 6 is 30. So the answer is 300. So n is equal to 300. All right, so again, the method doesn't change down here. It's the same method. The problem is just written in a different way. So that's what we're keeping an eye out for there. If you guys have any questions, let me know on the school's website, and I will see you in class.